Do some editing of some photographs of a ukulele event, actually ukulele competition, which I didn't actually realize was a thing until I got asked to do this. I think I'm streaming on both YouTube and Facebook. We will find out eventually. But I'm sitting here doing some editing, so I thought I might as well stream it. Just I'll probably explain a few little bits as I go through. I'm not sure whether the comments on YouTube will show up inside this app I'm using, but we'll find out. What I've discovered is when you do an HDR or panoramic or any merging of DNG files, because I import as DNG files, any importing of DNG files, which creates a brand new DNG, you can't use the Lightroom enhance function after that on the images. So you need to do it beforehand. And if you look at close up of these, let's find it. You see there's a bit of noise. This one's actually not too bad, actually. I might not. I was changing settings a bit, but I'll probably use these two. You can do group enhancing, so you can select more than one image and hit enhance. It does make a bit of a difference, so we'll do it. So I'll leave those running, doing the enhance. Some reason it shifts them to the end of my strip of images. Don't know why that is, but that's fine. With large collections of photographs like this, what I tend to do is I will go and mark them as pics, as you can see across the top there. With these, I don't do that until I've done the enhance. So I do the enhance. I sort out along here the ones I'm going to X out or reject, which will get moved up into this folder here eventually. In fact, that one can go now. Gets it out of my way. I leave one sitting here as my marker as to where I'm up to, because with these, I picked a few out before. Now I'm sort of going in shoot order as I work my way through. I might pick the old one out now and again, but I'm going pretty much in the order I shot them. So all these ones here that have got pics have also been added to this collection down here. That way, in a minute, when these are done, I will just click on this here, and then I'll be focusing on just the photographs that are in that collection to edit. That way I know they've been, in this case, enhanced. They are pics, and they're the ones I want to use. This one here, I won't know until I check the cropping, but the aim is to do a crop on just this person here. Whereas the other one that looks almost identical to this, where his hand's a bit higher, that I'll probably keep the whole picture. But so what I tend to do is I'll pick a whole bunch and select those to be enhanced, and I'll leave it enhancing about 8 or 10 at once normally, while I go off and do something else, just because it takes a little while. It would be good if you could do the enhance on the DNG created from a panoramic or a HDR, because I had a panoramic I did yesterday that consisted of 8 photographs, and I had to enhance each of the 8 before creating the panoramic from those enhanced images. Would have been far easier to create the panoramic then do the enhance afterwards. Because I like to do things in some sort of vague organization, X, B, P, X, B, P, and just for my own organization, I'll move these all the way back down here. The fact that it puts them to the end does make it a little bit easier to know where where Lightroom is at when it's doing its thing. Take those 2, move them up here, leaving the most recent reject sitting there so I know where I'm up to. Random food photograph, don't know whether I'm going to keep that or not. That's sort of on the maybe list. Right. Now we'll do a bit of cropping. Thanks to the AI stuff, those 2 guys don't need to be in the shot. Thanks to the AI stuff, I've sometimes got rid of bits and pieces up here that I consider to be a little bit distracting. I'm not going to go and get rid of all these lights because this is part of the atmosphere, but sometimes, especially when I've done close-ups with these bits in the background, because it's a black background, what I've done is I've removed them when I've done a couple of close-ups, just to make it look nicer. They were doing sound checks here, so they weren't actually performing. I've got ones further down of them actually performing. They were just doing sound checks here, so I thought I'd capture a few and do a bit of editing of these. We got here this. What I tend to do is normally, may not do it now, but normally I will go through most, if not all of these, or at least I might do like this whole stretch along here until it changes perspective. So all these landscape orientated ones I might do. Oh, here's one I missed. All right. That's the enhancement. Yeah, so I might come along and do all of these in Lightroom, and then I'll start putting them through to Photoshop for the bits I need to do in Photoshop. But here we've got, there's no real cropping needed here. Just a random crowd shot I got. This one I wasn't sure about, but it looks. I did a few where I got shots of people, close-ups of people's hands and ukuleles and things like this. and the sound engineer slash organizer. And this is where the generative AI stuff can come in handy, because I've cropped out most of this post, but there's just a little bit down here. Now, with any luck, generative AI should be able to get rid of that, and this bit over here just makes it a little bit tidier. Not absolutely necessary. One could accept that as is. Bump that up a little bit. It's one of those things that one doesn't really need to fiddle with, but some might say I could get rid of the water bottle, but I don't think AI will do a good job of reconstructing these two fingers here, and this bit of hand up here, because it has problems with hands. Plus, it adds a bit of context. This guy, I might do a people mask. Been quite impressed editing these, how the people select thing does a pretty good job of selecting the person, but not these objects. I've had a few that have got a ukulele in front of them, and it's managed to select the person and not the ukulele. I know the stuff's clever, and people make a big thing about how clever the software is, but still, it is quite impressive. Bump the exposure, drop the highlights just a little bit. Now, this is an interesting one. Again, it's clearly sound check time, and it's a bit of a behind the scenes sort of a shot, which these people seem to have, and I've found it with a few other things that I've shot. People seem to quite like them. Sometimes they're a bit random and a bit, you sort of have to crop a bit viciously. So what I will probably do in Photoshop is I'll probably remove these two bits here. I might even remove these just so that it's not too distracting. It depends on how the generative AI handles it. If it does a good job of it, and which is an interesting phrase in itself, because a good job is not necessarily perfect. It's just what the human eye will accept. I've got another challenging one down here. Not this one, that one. Most people wouldn't notice the missing bit of arm and the missing bit of ukulele over here. And it would be okay. I could have gone in closer. I've got one that's going to be the close-up. And I'll go in as close as I can without cropping too much. But what I was thinking with this one is I'm going to use the generative AI, generative expand, and see if it does an acceptable job of adding the end of the ukulele on. Should do okay with the arm. I tested it on this side before I did the enhance, and it gave me some options that were, one of them was okay. If you really knew your ukuleles, you would look at it and go, what the hell is that mess? But most people wouldn't notice it. just because of the it looked real, but anyone who looked closely at it, trying to figure out what type of ukulele it was or something, would go, hang on, that's not real. But yeah, I'm propping a bit tighter here because these two people here weren't actually part of. They would, once the competition started, everyone in here had to move. I found I've probably watched a video that talked about this somewhere sometime and completely forgotten it, but I've discovered that moving the shadows on higher ISO images, even after de-enhance, moving the shadows tends to add more noise. After the enhance, the enhance does a damn good job. There's bugger all noise in there, really. But moving the shadow slider tends to add a lot more noise than the exposure slider, I've discovered. So I tend to try and get a bit of a balance, because sometimes if you move the exposure slider and drop the highlight slider, you get pretty close to the same effect as moving the shadow slider. So I tend to keep the shadow slider literally for the deeper shadows and move those a little bit. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. Got to keep the coffee supply going. Right. So, and that's the enhanced version of this. See if I can find the unenhanced version. Oop. Nope. 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 Maybe it's along here somewhere. See, that's not enhanced, and you can see the noise is quite noticeable. In the past, before this enhanced stuff, one would have been okay with that. Now you take that and go to The enhanced version, it's a lot cleaner. If you've been paying attention when I did this, you would have seen that I think from memory I had my enhanced settings at 35. Let's find something that isn't enhanced. Not this one here. Enhance. Oh, 45. I've got mine at 45 here. And again, you can see the difference, which is actually pretty good. I found the 45 tends to be my good safe zone. And that's pretty much where I leave it at. Let's crop that in a bit. Just I used my wide angle. I think this is the shot taken with my wide angle. Yeah, 14 mil taken with my 12 to 24. Just have a look at what it would look like. Now this one here, there is a very good chance I'll probably remove these just because they're down here and they don't add anything to the image and they can easily be removed. I might look at removing these lights just to see what it looks like, because while I don't mind this lighting here and all this lighting here, just these two up here draw my attention. So if I can get rid of them without leaving a weird light mess that can't be explained, because there isn't, you see light up here, but there's no way to tell that that's directly because of these lights. It could be from anything. So it's this bright bit here, but I also need to get rid of the cable going up here. So I'll give that a go and see what sort of results we end up with. This was an HDR image. And again, I had to, that's the HDR settings for the highlights. I had to enhance the 3 images first, then HDR them. So sometimes what I do with these is I push the highlights back up, drop the exposure a little bit, then bring the highlights back down to something like that. Shadows seem to be fine. Right, now these ones. This guy, I thought I'd go in quite close. Only because there's plenty of scope to go in. Normally I would have cropped it there, and I still have a tendency to do that and do a closer crop. But what I wouldn't mind is that. And thanks to the, yeah, there's a bit of motion blur there, but it's fine. Thanks to the software, this shouldn't be hard to get rid of. I'm not too worried. I might take that out because it's a bit shiny. And I'll probably take out that one, and I might even take out those ones. Whether I'll bother with that, but there, it should do it okay. But we'll see. Up the exposure just a little bit. Then for this one, I don't want to bump it too far on the background, so I'll go in here and let it do a people select. Up the exposure a little bit. That's a little bit over the top there. Drop the highlights a little bit. Mainly came in here for texture. Now, it's fairly clear that the exposure is a little bit high on there, but that is because I'm going to bring it back down here globally. There. I don't need to brighten any of the colors there. They're pretty bright to start with. Now, these two were taken seconds apart and are pretty much the same. So what I have a habit of doing for these is I'll start there, go to there, hit previous. It'll give me the wrong crop, but that's beside the point. Reevaluate my crop, make a few changes. There we go. That's about what I want. Yes, I know she's out of focus. I was shooting at 2.8 here. This is mostly him, but these two here add context and they're part of the environment. They didn't need to be in focus. Now I can check. She doesn't need to be brightened. I might look at the dress here. There, just add that a little bit. I don't need to do anything to this masking as far as adjusting the lighting because it's the same as the other one. And I'm guessing the next one I'm going to is in pretty much the same category. Yep, this clown again. He's a bit of a laugh, this dude. Sort of reminds me of what happens if you give granddad the wrong drugs. Again, cropping. He's having fun. That's what I wanted. This one will probably go up on Instagram, which is, it's just handy that it happens to best suit a square crop. And for anyone who wonders, the reason I went for a square crop is because I don't need all this. And I don't need all this down here. It doesn't add to my image as such. Yes, it adds a little bit of environment, I suppose, but we don't need to see his legs or anything. The whole action is here with this arms and face and enough belly that it, and waistline that it doesn't look ridiculous, apart from the fact that we want a little bit of gap here. Unfortunately, I came in a bit close to his fingers. So, in fact, I might change this a bit and come in a bit here. Have it close to the same on each side. Tiny bit of gap, you know. Check my mask to make sure it hasn't picked anything up I don't want it to. Yes, it has. Bastard. I don't. This is where the object select isn't going to work too well. But subtract brush. Go down quite small. Doesn't need to be exact. All I want to do is remove these few bits here. Microphone stand doesn't need to be lit up like a crap. Doesn't need to be lit up like a Christmas tree. We don't need this ukulele. And I can see just here, it's a bit hard to see on here, but I can just see that that's all this other person. So I'll just carefully trim that down a bit. I'm not going to try and select this microphone and bugger around because it's not a big deal. What I might do with him is just the exposure just a little bit on him. And that's that one done. Again, another one of this. Except this time, no. This time I might go back to needs to get our shot, bring that down, bring this up, slide that into there. He saw me taking the photographs and a couple of times and looked directly at me. Yeah, that's okay. I'm guessing it hasn't selected this part of the dress here, but it's not a big deal. Yep, I'm correct. The only thing I don't like is it's missed this bit of her face, but what I think I might do is subtract brush and oops. What I might do is it's probably picked up all the tweaking I did before in the last one. So I'll just zip around here. This is mostly to take the, I don't need her, because she's not in focus, I don't need to boost the lighting on her. Completely unnecessary. Because she's out of focus anyway. Actually, easy just to, would have been easier just to delete that one. And that one. And that one. Ah, crap. Went a tad too far. There, that's better. I can do this for this guy. Bump the texture. D Hayes does some interesting boosting of colors in a weird way. Right. Now this is going to be interesting. I'll leave those ones to do later. What I will do is go back and process one of these. We'll start with this guy. Now, my general rule of thumb here is because we're going to eventually have limited amounts of generative AI to play with before it slows down and all that sort of, what I tend to do is I start with actually it's not the healing notes, it's the remove tool. I start with the remove tool. That's my go-to for these. Tool's no good for stuff like this. I've learnt the hard way with that one. This bit here, while it's no good for this bit, might be okay for the remove tool. Yep. Now, I can experiment and try. My first port of call is the remove tool because it's the quickest and easiest to use. I could try what happens if I just very carefully go along there. That was okay. That was a bit more of a surprise than I was expecting. This bit here, that there, that little bit of white there. Now, the fun bit, which I'll do in two pieces, because with this, there are two bits to this that, yes, I know you can do them together and all this sort of carry on, but I prefer to do them separately so as not to confuse the little pixies that run the AI. What I will probably start is I'll get rid of this big piece up here first. And I tend to use this tool, the polygon lasso, blah, 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 because I don't have to be so careful going around it. Ah, crap. Always do that, accidentally click in there and yeah. So I'll start off here. Goes close, but not too close. I want a little bit of the black. Now come onto the hat and just go along the edge of the hat in little pieces. The reason I use this is because you can, if there's, it doesn't need to follow the contours of the hat perfectly, but you can do longer stretches like this. And yes, I keep forgetting this bar is up here. Only just recently, it wasn't until they allowed it to let you pin it and have it permanently pinned up there that I started using it, and I keep forgetting that it's there. Okay. Not ideal. Go for that one. No, thank you. That's better. Right. Then what I do is I do the Control-Shift-Alt-E. I could merge that down, but that's just a habit of mine of doing the Control-Shift-Alt-E instead. Now I'll go to this one, start off here somewhere. See what we get. I might as well get rid of. The only reason I keep that toolbar up there is for other things that it may bring up suggestions of what tool I want to use. I could unpin it and drop it out of view. Yeah, see, that's okay. What are our options? That. A bit better. That's even better. Yeah, that's closer to the actual. And yes, anyone who's looking at this and saying, it's out of focus. Yes, I know it's out of focus. There was a bit of motion blur there because I took that shot on the fly. But on social media, where I'm pretty sure most of this is going to be viewed, no one's going to really notice or care. I've put up photographs for things where it's the only photograph in a series. Merge all that down. It's the only photograph in a series that shows a particular person, and it was just bad luck that it was slightly blurry. No one's even noticed, never mind not caring. It's sometimes you sort of, circumstances mean you get a blurry, slightly vaguely blurry photograph. And it's okay for social media and stuff, especially if it's the only option. Because this was being shot on the fly, off the cuff. There wasn't a lot of time. It's not like a portrait session or a staged photo session where you can set everything up perfectly. For instance, if I was setting this up as a portrait shot, I would have moved this microphone down further and angled it up so that we could see his chin, something like that. Would have moved these unnecessary music stands out of the way, and a whole lot of things I would have done differently if this was being used as, if I was doing this as a proper portrait shot for his profile or something like that. This would have been done a hell of a lot differently. But that's not what we're doing. And people are more interested in the moments. This is why you can get away with a little bit of noise in photographs like this, or a little bit lack of focus, as long as it's not too bad. Even with my glasses, see, it's not until you get in really close. What's that? It's 100% magnification. Most people are going to see it no bigger than that. In fact, very few people are going to see it that big on social media. There's a very good chance if this person is on social media, there's a very good chance he'll probably end up using this as his profile picture for a while. I get that a lot with my hockey. People using them as profile pictures. In case anyone's wondering, I created these presets or actions here to make, because I pretty much always want to go to that as full size, which is just off the size that comes out of the sensor, out of the camera. And this is for social media. And then there's these other ones for different things. Anyone reading this closely will see that's my phone. I just round them down, round the last two digits. So that's my phone. That's a slightly different one. That's my small camera, the RX100. And that's my old Nikon camera because I've still got a few photographs taken with that kicking around in here somewhere. My Lightroom catalog became like a that garage that you throw everything into and just close the door. For a while, there were folders of stuff in there that I'd processed the main photographs and then closed the door and moved on and completely forgot what was in there. Again, back in a minute. Right. My idea here was just to edit a few live like this, just because I was going to be doing it anyway. So you might as well have a look and see what I do and how I do it. And right, this one, because I'm looking at putting some of these up online soon. Now, with a picture like this, yes, I could probably remove this stand, but because I've got a distraction here that's not worth going to the trouble of removing over here, this person, this ukulele, and this person here, for starters, it would look unbalanced. This isn't an issue because it's part of the stage. It was a competition. You expect to see these things. This I'll remove because it's right above his head, and I can. In the past, I wouldn't have because it would have been too much work to remove it. What I will do, though, is I'll remove that, and I'll remove that, and possibly that one there. Just tidy them up. That makes this, while you can see this light reflection up here on the top of this music stand, removing these bits just stops you from paying too much attention to them. Same as there's a possible, oh no, that's not too bad. I might dull this down a bit, or might, yeah, that bit's not too bad. This bit here, yeah. There's a way to deal with that so that I can effectively remove it, but only remove it partially. Right. I miss a bit. That's those distractions. Ooh, might do these ones as well since I can. Now, for this one here, and this bit hanging down here just annoys me. It's the only reason it's going is because it annoys me. Photo editing, where I do stuff in images just because it annoys me. Let's dull that down. Now for this bit here, because I don't want to get rid of that, because I've got to go behind this, and I don't want to get rid of this altogether. So if I did this, there's a very good chance it'll go all together. So what we can do, before, after. What I've effectively done is done it on I've created a blank layer above, done the remove on that blank layer because I've got it set for sample all layers. And that means it's done it and technically got rid of it, but I've got control over the opacity of that layer so that I can dull it back. So I'm using that remove tool to do all the heavy lifting. Then I use layer opacity to reduce the effect of the removal so that there's still a hint of it there, but it's dulled back a bit. Now the fun bit. This bit, because there's not much of a gap in here, I'll try and do this whole lot all in one hit. This should be fun to do. The trick is picking enough of this hat to be able to tell the AI that you want a hat here, but not too much that it distorts it. And there's a little bit of, look, I used the toolbar. There's a little bit of hit and miss here. So I might have selected a little bit too much here, and I might have to go back and redo it. This is why I think there. Ooh. I did okay. Yes, it shifted some of the sequins on his hat, but that's probably the slightly better one of the two. That's ugly. Let's mark that one as poor. Oh God, didn't expect this to come up here. Screw it. I haven't done that for a while. I try to remember to do that when I can, just to help the system become better. Now we've got one other slight inconvenience up here, which we can have a go at. This bit. Not sure how this will go because, first of all, he's got slightly wonky fingers anyway. The AI may not pick this up well, but we'll see. It's worth a try. This is why I think you should be given more free uses of the AI generative stuff. Because I think on the standard photography plan, which is Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop, I think you only get about 100 or something like that uses before you get to the slowdown stage. Okay, that did all right. I'm happy with that. Again, half of photography is fooling the human eye. Yes, it took a bit of shine off that finger up there, but no one would actually be any the wiser. Got a nice photograph of him having fun. Zoom into his face. Is anything I need to change in here? No, that's fine. Merge all that down. Go into my default buttons. Before I go for a ride later, that will go up on that'll go up on Instagram eventually. The thing with my signature is I did it for landscape, and I did it in such a way that basically all I have to do is occasionally resize it a bit and adjust the opacity. And on rare occasions, the blending, if that was a very light background, I'd change the blending mode. All right, that's that one done. Move it into my edited folder. Take it out of there. Let's have a play with this one. Should be pretty straightforward, this one. See what delete. Yes, delete did an okay job. Might strike as a little bit repetitive, but shouldn't be too big a deal. Same here. Test that one first. Yep, that's fine. Don't need to go to the fussy using the generative AI stuff. This dude's resting face is a bit is grumpy. He's got what they call it, grumpy resting face, especially when he's concentrating on something. See, here's an example of where the signature is not 100% clear there. I go down to that blending mode, drop the opacity a little bit, and it's visible but not distracting. the wind bites the dust. I want to put up a few of these together on. See, this one here, because you can see all of this, I'm not probably going to remove these in this particular one because they're not too distracting. Because there's a lot of other stuff in this picture, so I'll pretty much do nothing more to this image other than resize it. Because one doesn't need to remove a lot of stuff from every single image. I don't have any truly hard and fast rules. I just go by what appeals to me or what my brain says at the time it needs to be done. It's not always the same for every single image. This one here, I might go in and remove. Good thing about using this particular tool is it's a relatively easy way to select on the whole if you don't have a pen and tablet, which I'm actually using right now. Because a lot of my editing is pretty straightforward and I don't touch my pen and tablet that much. Most of it's done using a mouse. Because if you use the normal selection tool, marquee selection tool thing, yeah, that's tricky with a mouse. Yeah, it's a bit rough. It's better. That's horrible. That is really, really bad. I would like to use this result rubbish. Result matched rubbish. That's definitely the better one. Now this one here. Again, this one should be pretty straightforward. Hopefully, there is a spot in here, that there, which I will get rid of later. Here is always a funky one with this generative AI stuff. Oops, but oh, you son of a bitch. Mind, just add to it. Hair can be a bit weird. Sometimes it works okay with hair, sometimes it doesn't. But again, it comes down to what is believable and what is not necessarily what is correct. See, yeah, you'd be hard pressed to guess that there's any hair missing there. There's that bit of hair sticking up there I might tidy up. I was going to grab this tool anyway. Tidy that bit. Might not have gone far enough. And there. This and that. There. And yes, I know I could probably remove this person, but there's this to contend with, this to contend, that to contend with, as well as that. And I don't think there is a great benefit in going to that trouble. Sometimes people overdo it and remove a lot of stuff from a picture that they don't really need to just because they can, and it doesn't necessarily make the image better. Yes, anyone now on the day would wonder what happened to the decorations in the background, but most people would just assume it was because of the angle I was photographing at, that maybe they didn't turn up in the picture, and no one's going to notice them not being there. Let's see, let's pick a blend mode that'll, yeah, there's a blend mode that'll suit. Did I accidentally? Right, another one bites the dust. See, this one here I'll do before I finish this live stream, because there's a few things I will do in here that hopefully will work. Now I said I was going to look at getting rid of these, which I will give it a go, see what it does. I will include this because otherwise it would look weird. I might go around that as well. So what I'll probably do is go do. Let's see how it goes. And in theory, these lights here won't need to use the generative AI. I should be able to use the remove tool. This, I knew I'd have to use the generative AI for that. But those lights up here, theoretically, could use the remove tool, which is my first choice. When I look at something I'm going to remove from a picture, I look at, can I use the remove tool? If not, then can I use one of the others? And generative AI is generally last on the list of options. It didn't like that. Chuck a full stop up there. Let's try that again. Don't know why it rejected that, saying it goes against their terms and conditions. Rubbish. Don't know what was wrong with that shape. Let's see if it works a second time. Yep, that's better. What I did then is I put a full stop up in the text box, and for some reason, it's like a hack I came across. For some reason, that fixes that whole "you've done an illegal move" thing. Now, we'll start with this one because it's got the least complex background, and we'll see if the remove tool, I'm going a bit closer, the remove tool can get rid of this without leaving any residue. It left a hint of it there. Let's see what happens if I do that again. Some of these tools like this, you need to give them a couple of goes. There's a little line there I could see. Might go a bit wider on this one. Yep, except that bit for some reason. Now, there we go. Yeah, there's a little bit up here which I can get. What I might do is go back to here. Nope, remove tool didn't like that at all. Go to content aware fill and remove that from the selection option. What we've got over here looks pretty good. That looks better. No one knows there were lights there. Right, let's check the size of that. Yep. See, I did crop in a bit. Yes, it's not an overly detailed picture, but it was just a shot from the stage area showing the crowd. It's another one of these pictures that people like to see. It's sort of captures a bit of the atmosphere of the place, the people, that sort of thing. So anyway, think that'll do me for today for live streaming, because I'm about to upload a few things and go for a ride, have lunch and go for a ride. So I shall leave it there and we'll come back to these later. Cool.